Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. I'm Carolyn Lim, the Corporate Communications Lead for Musim Mas Group. Thank you for taking time to be with us today. And we promise we'll keep this session to a maximum of 90 minutes. From our early beginnings in 1972 as a single refinery, we have since grown into a fully integrated palm oil company. Some of you may know us as Intercontinental Oils and Fats, or ICOF. We produce one ingredient that provides 1,000 opportunities. The opportunity to partner with us to transform the smallholder landscape, as some of you may have already been doing. The opportunity to co-create formulation in our innovation centers in Singapore and Indonesia. And most importantly, the opportunity to develop a long-term partnership that rides on our integrated supply chain and our presence in countries where you are. One ingredient, 1,000 opportunities. Since we launched our policy in 2014, now we have learned what works and what doesn't. Our new policy reflects our renewed commitment to responsible palm oil, and that we will work hard to transform the landscape to deliver deforestation-free and exploitation-free palm supply chain. Now, before we start, some housekeeping rules. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel. I will bring them up during specific moments of the webinar, and we will also have some time for questions at the end. If you want to be anonymous, please tick the checkbox. We have two colleagues, senior colleagues speaking today, Mr. Olivier Tichit and Mr. Robert Nichols. Olivier is the Director of Sustainable Supply Chain with the Musim Mas Group. He leads the implementation of our sustainability plan for our suppliers and independent smallholders. He also works closely with our customers to identify synergies and partnerships. Olivier is active in the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil, the High Carbon Stock Approach, and the Palm Oil Innovation Group. And the other speaker for today is Mr. Rob, and he's a General Manager for Programs and Projects at Musim Mas. He leads our Extension Services Program initiatives, and his role includes working with independent smallholders of our third-party suppliers. Olivier, please.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us and for your interest in our new sustainability policy and in our endeavor to achieving a deforestation and exploitation-free supply chain. Today, I will introduce you to our 2020 sustainability policy, which is launched today. So why are we updating our 2014 sustainability policy? What is in this 2020 policy that was not in the 2014 policy? And then Rob later will present to you our extension work with smallholders and how it contributes to landscapes transformation. Because this is what it is all about. It's about landscapes transformation, so the supply chains become deforestation-free, exploitation-free. We will both speak for about the next 40 minutes. I hope it will remain interesting for you all along and that you will have a few questions for us at the end of the presentation. I do count on your patience. This is over the internet, so we must also account or be ready for unstable connections. If you want to know, just in case, I've put a few candles to Saint Isidore of Seville. You might not know, or you might know, is the patron saint of the internet. There is such a thing. Let's see if I can get to the next slide. Yes. So first, a short review of the key milestones of our journey so far. It has been a long road. In 2004, Musim Mas has been the first Indonesian producer to join the RSPO, the Roundtable for Sustainable Palm Oil. We've obtained our first RSPO certification in 2009. Then in 2014, we published our comprehensive sustainability policy. And in 2019, we achieved POIG verification of our operations, which means we brought the compliance of our operations to the highest possible level. It has been a long road, and we are proud of what we have achieved. Yet we know there is a lot more ground to cover. The next key milestone will be a verified deforestation and exploitation-free supply chain. That is so that we can create value upstream by responsible producers, and we can pass on this value to our customers. Today, a lot of you are present, and also on to the consumers, because this will require much more effort. We know it. Everything we have done so far, maybe we can say, was just a warming up for this coming milestone. Now we're really grasping the entire supply chain. So why the need for an updated sustainability policy? Our 2014 policy has taken us where we are today, and we're proud of it. But the 2020 sustainability policy will, as the highest sustainability document in Musim Mas, set the course for the years to come. The 2014 policy reflected the best of our knowledge, the best of our capacity at the time. 6 years later, it was time to take stock of the situation, to take stock of changes, and to take time to refine, clarify, and broaden our commitments. Let's be honest, we have not reinvented sustainability. There is no such thing. It's an evolving process. But we find better ways to reach sustainability. It's also that we find better ways to explain what we are doing and to make it accessible to everyone. We are a leader of change. We are ready to change ourselves, but we also are ready to inspire and to support others to change. You have the link on this slide to where our new policy is now online. Please use it to download it. It's a long document. It's a bit wordy, as you might realize once you read it. So what's in the 2020 policy? There is actually, it's the continuity of the 2014 policy. We should not pretend that we are just burning and reinventing. No, it's in the continuity of our 2014 policy. There are strong fundamental commitments. It is still about achieving a no deforestation, no peat, no exploitation compliant supply chain. It's still about improving livelihoods, which is so important. And it is about applying our commitments to our contractors and to our suppliers. It was already in 2014, our commitment. It remains obviously today. In our 2020 policy, we identify very clearly, visually, you will see it in the document, what applies to Musim Mas and what applies to our suppliers. We want this to be very clear to everyone. We have also expanded the scope of our policy. First, to coconut oil operations. Coconut, it's actually a tiny part of our business, but it is another commodity, and we feel it is natural that the same commitments that apply to palm should apply to coconut. In particular, because coconut is a smallholders crop, and smallholders are important to us. Sustainability is quite new in the coconut supply chain. So we'll use our experience to approach this commodity, but we will also be adapting our tools and we'll be adapting the way that we approach the suppliers and the way we can support them. By 2022, we will be implementing in full our NDPE commitments to our coconut supply base. Hopefully before that, we'll take some time next year to adapt, to study and to adapt. So we looked also beyond just the commodities and at our operations, and we considered our packaging. It's a new commitment, like coconut. So what we will do is we will assess our footprint in terms of paper and cardboard packaging and how we can reduce it. Paper and cardboard are ubiquitous, but they can have quite a high footprint. So we want to participate with others to reducing the footprint of our packaging across our different products. So this 2020 policy has been organized around 4 pillars or on 4 pillars. Let me mention them briefly now, and I will develop them in the following slides. The first pillar is improving the lives of smallholders, workers, and communities. It's actually quite a long pillar. You will see later it's got 14 tenets in it. The second pillar is delivering positive environmental impacts. This is quite straightforward. The third pillar is maintaining responsible and enduring relationships. And the key word is, the two words are very important: responsible, enduring. Relationships with our suppliers, with our customers, and with all stakeholders. In the broad sense of the term, it can be CSOs, it can be governments, they are stakeholders. And the fourth pillar, which might look a bit odd-shaped, is driving innovation in sustainable practices. We'll come to that in a moment. Overall, so 4 pillars, 42 tenets, and I said earlier that the policy was a bit wordy. Well, I counted the words, there's 2,580 words. I think that's a bit more than the previous one. I apologize for that, but as you know, when we formulate our commitments, as time has passed, they have become more and more precise, and they've come a bit longer one after the other. I'll try to go through the various pillars and just focus on what are the key points. First pillar, 14 tenets, improving the lives of smallholders, workers, and communities. This to us is the fundamental pillar. It's the first for a good reason. It's also the largest. It's about people. Palm is a people, and coconut are people's commodities. So what are the key elements? Some are quite basic and were already in our 2014 policy: respect for human rights, for the rights of local and indigenous communities. We have now introduced explicit reference so that they are clear to everyone. They were implied before or expressed maybe in not such a clear manner, on intimidation and criminalization, which cannot be tolerated. We also have, as a constant from the 2014 policy, support to local communities. Musim Mas is dedicating great resources to making the best education possible to the children of its employees, but also to the children of neighboring communities. We really strongly believe in education. If you have the opportunity one day when all this pandemic is over, or at least managed, if you have the opportunity to visit our plantations, I can assure you, you will be impressed by the schools. Coming from a plantation background, I've always seen good schools. These schools are extremely good. They are critical to the future of our employees' children and to the local communities. Also, in times of need now, I just mentioned the pandemic, we know we have a moral responsibility to communities around us, around our factories, around our estates. So we have taken this role and this responsibility very seriously. You can read about that in our press releases. Diversity and gender equity in our operations are also important. We promote them, but also in our smallholder work. And that leads me to the final key point in this first pillar: smallholders inclusion. Inclusion does not mean in our supply chain. It means inclusion in the supply chain. We must link smallholders to the market. Why? So that they understand it better, but also so that they are recognized. You will hear more about our extension work from Rob a little bit later. The second pillar, which, as I said, is quite straightforward, is delivering positive environmental impacts. What do we mean? In short, what we mean is that we need ecosystem services. We must recognize our impacts on the environment so that we can manage them, reduce them, make them positive, so that we can continue to enjoy the ecosystem services we need. We need them as a business. We need them as people. The communities around us need them also. So we must maintain them. Our long-standing commitments to no deforestation, no peat, and obviously no fire are critical also to delivering on this pillar. They were in our 2014 policy, applying to our operations and to our suppliers. We also, in this 2020 policy, clarify our requirements around FFB traceability, which apply to us, which apply to our suppliers. We will continue as well to reduce our GHG emissions. Musim Mas has been a pioneer there, systematically installing methane captures in all our mills. We will continue this. Any new mill that is built by Musim Mas is automatically fitted with a methane capture mechanism. We also produce electricity out of this methane. And we include now in this second pillar the reduction, our new commitment on reduction, our paper and paper-based packaging, so cardboard footprint. Our third pillar is maintaining responsible and enduring relationships with suppliers, customers, and all stakeholders. Enduring means long term. That's the Musim Mas way. It means also that enduring means that sometimes you go through difficult times and you have to stay the course, and each side we have to work together so that we get over any issues the best way possible. What we believe is that sustainable livelihoods and the end of deforestation can only be achieved through cooperation and collaboration. We know we cannot do everything on our own. Musim Mas will not achieve perfection on its own. Partnerships across the supply chain and across landscapes, and I can see in the list of attendees a few of you with whom we are collaborating. This is what will bring lasting and valuable change. Supporting our suppliers is a key element. Supporting means supporting them to achieve demonstrated NDPE compliance. We recognize it can be difficult for smaller companies, so we provide them with the best possible tools and with tailored roadmaps. It takes time. It's a big supply chain. It takes us time, but this is what we are committed to. And we also monitor their progress. It's not only about saying, get on your way, but it's also about monitoring progress. We need to know what is in our supply chain. So we monitor. The easy part, I would say, is to monitor for deforestation and fire, because it's about remote sensing. But we also check the news. We also read NGO reports very carefully, and we look for the early signs of issues and also for the early signs of social conflicts. When we see something that we believe might be a problem, we engage with our suppliers to check on their breaches, possible breaches of their commitments and our commitments. We do, and that is a strong point for Musim Mas, we do stand by suppliers who want to change. We understand it can be challenging to be compliant in today's world. So we have a framework around our grievance process and our controlled purchase protocol to guide suppliers through the resolution of serious complaints, keeping an eye as well to the business, which means that one is not detached from the other. It also means that we find ways to not go immediately to exclusion, but to find ways to entice the suppliers to improve rather than say, get better and then come back to us. We believe in those relationships. It puts us sometimes in difficult positions, but we're happy to do that. We believe this is what brings change. But at the end of the day, suppliers who breach critical requirements will be excluded. That happens. Finally, and that was the difficult pillar to write, is the pillar on innovation. Drive innovation in sustainable practices. How do you do that? Well, Musim Mas has a very strong culture of staff-led innovation, which supports our reputation for excellence and our growth as well. So why should it be different for sustainability? Internally, we use innovation to improve our practices in the field, in the factories, and we make them more efficient and safer and more sustainable. We have that knowledge. So what we do is we try to take what is best and we transfer it to smallholders. We can also transfer it to some of our suppliers, plantation companies, mills. This is something we can do for them. It is not competitive. So the last point, industry-wide NDPE reporting and monitoring. Well, as some of you know, this is already happening. But our goal goes beyond just reporting. It is about how we collaborate to link producers and consumers. How do we collaborate so that we can pass on the sustainability values of the products all along the supply chain? How do we maintain this sustainability value? That is something we see as really important. It goes beyond just the reporting. Finally, how do we then report on our progress? Well, we have the course. This is the sustainability policy. How do we fine-tune? How do we implement it? And how do we report to the public at large? We have a roadmap, which some of you might call a dashboard, on which we record our achievements. There are a few elements. There's suppliers, the number of suppliers committed to no deforestation, no peat, no exploitation. There is the level of traceability to the place of production. There is the percentage of monitoring of the concessions in our supply chain. There is also our progress on smallholders extension and how many smallholders hubs we have in place. So we do that in the roadmap. We also have annually a sustainability report, and our sustainability report includes a lot of updates on our progress towards our current goals, but also it fine-tunes our goals year by year, and it introduces new goals. This is where you will find the more detailed numbers. This is the target, and this is our progress. This is the new target, and this is our new progress. And our sustainability report is based on the GRI reporting framework so that it's recognizable and that we can eventually get it certified, verified at least against the GRI. That's it for me. Thank you for your attention so far. Now we'll go for something which I think is a bit more exciting and which is extremely dear to us, which is smallholders. So Rob Nichols will now take over from me and take you on to talk about our smallholders work. Thank you. Rob?
Thank you, Olivier. I'd just like to welcome everybody to the webinar as well today, whether it be morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you are. My name's Rob Nichols, and I'm working specifically with independent smallholders within the supply chain of Musim Mas. I think you can see from what we've been presenting so far that certification and sustainability are critical parts of what Musim Mas does. So, having said that, we reach out to not only the suppliers within our supply chain, that is scheme smallholders, but we work with truly independent smallholders who are within the broader supply chain of the palm oil industry. Why do we do that? Is because independent smallholders are a significant portion of the overall supply chain, and as such, Musim Mas is committed to supporting them. Certification may not be the best option or the best way for all smallholders, especially independent smallholders, to move forward. And that could be due to their own preferences, or it could be the circumstances that they find themselves in. However, this does not mean that they are not sustainable. Sustainability is a journey that Musim Mas wants to undertake with independent smallholders. You can see in this video presentation, in the photo that's up on the screen at the moment, there were 705 smallholders in 2 separate associations that have been certified by RSPO in 2019. And this was part of the Musim Mas IFC Smallholder project. The photo on the left was taken during the Roundtable 17, when RSPO awarded certificates to the smallholders. And I can honestly say it was a very proud moment, not only for the smallholders, their fellow members, but also RSPO, Musim Mas, IFC, and all the people that were involved in assisting them achieve that. So, together with the IFC, the International Finance Corporation, we helped them broker a deal with Unilever in 2020, where Unilever purchased their RSPO credits. This year, 2 new associations have been audited, and the 2 existing associations have undergone surveillance audits. So upon successful completion of these audits, there will be over 1,950 smallholders from 4 separate associations will be RSPO certified. To put that into scale, across Indonesia, RSPO has certified around 7,000 independent smallholders. So the Musim Mas IFC partnership has really been at the forefront of independent smallholder certification, something we're very proud of. We run Indonesia's largest palm oil program, engaging over 32,000 smallholders who supply to our mill and our suppliers' mill. And one of the largest elements of that has been a highly successful partnership between Musim Mas and the International Finance Corporation. Musim Mas also has another smallholder model called ESP, which I'll explain a little bit later. And we're spread right across Indonesia, as you can see from the map on the screen. From Aceh, through North Sumatra, Riau, South Sumatra, right across into Kalimantan. So we have a broad reach of the programs and where we're working. The program that we're working with has been a really valuable learning experience. IFC has played a crucial role in this, and together with Musim Mas, we've developed training materials that Musim Mas will continue to use when implementing independent smallholder programs. The program equips smallholders with good agricultural practices, financial literacy, and also NDPE awareness, which is so critical in the environment that we operate in now, as well as other crucial information and skills to improve the market access and productivity. It really sets the scene for ongoing projects. So we've undertaken collaborations with numerous organisations, including IFC, but also BNI Bank, Rainforest Alliance, and various other government agencies. We move to the next slide, and you'll see in the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit more about what's this Smallholder Hub that I mentioned previously. So even though our programs are progressing and expanding, there's limitations to what one single company can do to address issues especially revolving around NDPE concerns. So we're very aware of the delicate balance between economic prosperity, developing the community, and at the same time conserving the environment. So we're scaling up our smallholder program by the Smallholder Hub approach. The Smallholder Hub is a support structure for a landscape, whether that be legal or geographical. It builds the capacity of the key stakeholders in that landscape, and that's obviously including the smallholders, but also the local level government. So we're working cooperatively with the various stakeholders to upskill smallholders, and the aim is to be supportive partners and assist independent smallholders to be sustainable and self-sustaining. And I think that's really key, is the self-sustaining. It's very easy to go in and deliver training, and a lot of training can be done. But what do we do, and what support structures, what skills, capacity do we leave behind to ensure that smallholders can continue to thrive and at the same time be sustainable? Musim Mas has boots on the ground. You know, we have extension officers based in the locations for the long term. Because we want that collaboration with local stakeholders, we need to be present in the environment. We can't be removed from it. So the importance of honest and open relationships can't be understated. It's really important we have people on the ground and that those people are working collaboratively with the local community. Presently, we are focusing our efforts in priority areas such as the Lusa ecosystem in Aceh. And in the photo there, you know, this is one example where we're meeting with local governments to discuss how we can work together, how can we assist upskill their village extension officers. But on top of that, we will continue to focus on other areas besides Aceh. We're looking in South Sumatra, North Sumatra, Riau, and two different kabupatens within Kalimantan. So to make the Smallholder Hub a reality, we're working with stakeholders with common goals, such as the government, buyers like yourselves, and NGOs. In fact, business with us is not a prerequisite. You know, we recently collaborated with General Mills to kickstart a program in Aceh, in southern Aceh. So I'd just like really to finish with that, to talk about that the journey is a long one, but we're committed to the goal of sustainable and self-sustaining independent smallholders. What we've got for you next is a short video that was taken with smallholders who've been involved in our smallholder program, and this is from North Sumatra. I think it's really reflects well what we've done. I hope you enjoy it, and I'm sure that we'll be able to answer any questions that you have later. Thanks very much. I'll now play to the video.
Saya suka duduk di tempat ini karena di sini saya bisa lagi duduk bermimpi tanaman saya, sawit saya ini bisa berbuah dengan baik, kehidupan saya akan lebih bagus lagi gitu. Pada tahun 95 itu harga getah karet itu kan masih lumayan gitu. Makanya kita cari dulu yang namanya kebun karet gitu. Ya, tapi semakin hari hasilnya semakin berkurang. Sementara saya terbiasa dengan makan enak. Ini kalau selera makan saya nggak bisa saya kurangi. Sementara pendapatan tetap dan pengeluaran itu semakin hari semakin banyak. saya mulai berpikir apa yang harus saya kerjakan. Itulah kita coba menanam sawit itu dulu. Ternyata hasilnya lumayan. Tapi setelah beberapa tahun kemudian saya mencoba membeli lahan lagi, saya tanam sawit lagi, tidak terawat. Karena prinsip kita dulu menambah pendapatan itu menambah kebun, menambah lebar seperti itu. Ternyata itu salah. Terbuktinya kita dapat rasakan itu setelah ada bimbingan dari IFC dan Musim Mas itu, kita diajari untuk macam mana kita bisa memaksimalkan hasil ladang kita itu sendiri gitu. Itu yang kita pelajari sehingga kita mau meningkatkan hasil kebun kita itu dengan hasil yang maksimal dengan perawatan yang betul-betul sesuai standar yang diajarkan kepada kita. Itu yang membuat kita nggak kepingin lagi untuk menambah lahan. Biarlah yang ada ini saya rawat dengan bagus sehingga inilah yang menghasilkan yang terbaik.
Itu Pak kalau ada pokok kecil ya Pak ya?
Nah inilah Pak sebetulnya bedanya. Ini dulu ditanamkan 2013.
Yeah.
Sementara bimbingan sama kami 2015. Ini udah sempat ditanam Pak. Jadi saya belum tahu dulu kondisi seperti ini. Jadi setelah pembelajaran yang dilakukan IFC dan Musim Mas itu, baru kita sadar bahwa nanam sawit itu nggak boleh disicip di bawah. Tapi udah kadung Pak, macam mana mau saya bikin?
Iya, Pak.
Inilah akibatnya. Pihak IFC dan Musim Mas membawa kita itu untuk membentuk suatu perkumpulan para petani standar internasional. Ya, itu makanya kita bentuklah dulu yang namanya Asosiasi Pekebun Swadaya Kelapa Sawit Labuhan Batu. Bukan sekedar berkebun kelapa sawit yang baik, tapi kita lebih lagi dituntut kita menjaga lingkungan, menjaga kelestarian alam juga. Kita juga harus menjaga kelestarian binatang-binatang langka, kemudian tanaman-tanaman langka juga harus kita jaga juga. Kemudian berkebun kelapa sawit yang berkesinambungan. Yang ikut program RSPO itu sebanyak 386 orang. Waktu audit kita sudah dinyatakan lulus RSPO. Sertifikat RSPO itu ya dengan bangga sekali saya terima di sana. Saya nggak nyangka, saya sampai mencucurkan air mata pada saat itu. Bisa begini Tuhan. Saya bangga sekali. Dan saat ini juga kalau saya ingat, saya mau mencucurkan air mata. Begitu bangganya saya membawa nama baik teman-teman yang lulus sertifikasi ini sehingga kami bisa dinyatakan oleh dunia internasional sebagai petani yang baik, petani yang berkelanjutan. Setelah saya melepaskan jabatan saya sebagai ketua asosiasi, sana saya akan memancing ikan, manggang ikan, makan enak. Itu yang saya inginkan.
Thanks. So I think that was a quite nice video. That was a quite nice video, I think, to explain more about the man behind the palm. Palm remains a people's business. That's what I started with, and that's something that we really must keep at the heart of our efforts. Palm products, coconuts as well, of course, but touch millions of producers. They do touch, we can say so, hundreds of millions of consumers. So we know we still need to improve our impact. And for that, we need to keep people at the heart, at the center of our sustainability efforts. We all need to embrace change, something that can be difficult to grasp. But that's what we want to achieve with our policy. We want to make change accessible to ourselves, but also understandable and accessible to all our suppliers. In a nutshell, that is what our policy is about. Thank you for having stayed with us so long. I hope you can now ask a couple of questions. We are much looking forward to answering them. Thanks.